Hi, it's Dave from Vinyl Nirvana. I'm going to walk you through setting up your TD-165 once you receive it from me, either after a purchase or after a restoration. The tools you're going to need for this are a straight screwdriver, some kind of padding, and I also highly recommend a Shure tracking force gauge. These are that's SHURE. They're available various places on the internet for around $25. So at this point, I've unpacked the basic pieces of the turntable. You've got the felt mat or a mat. You've got the outer platter. You have the belt. This is called the counterweight, and this is a TD-165, and also on the 166 Mark II, you have a anti-skate weight that's on a string. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the transport screws. If your turntable has a custom base, or if it was a very early Thorens model, it will not have these transport screws, but this particular model does, and I'm going to use the padding to protect the veneer. And basically you're going to turn the table up on its back, and in most cases I put two pieces of blue tape. So you've got one here, and hopefully you can see this other one here. I'm working solo on the camera today, but basically there's a screw in there that's on a spring, and you're going to loosen that until it comes completely free, and you'll be able to tell that by the feel of it when it releases. Okay, so that's loose, and I can now move the screw in and out with the screwdriver. Again, I'm not sure you can see this one way over to the left, but I'm unscrewing that now in the same fashion and making sure it's released. One thing you never want to do is to attempt to release the transport screws from above. These two screws are to the where this is connected from below. Oh, I'm sorry, these are connected to the springs down below, not the transport screws. And it's you're opening up a real can of worms if you loosen these to release the transport screw. It's a 45-minute to an hour-long repair if you made that mistake to do that. So we can now see that the sub-chassis is floating. We're going to put the belt on now. This is what's called the drive platter. The belt goes around the drive platter, and then there is a small arm over here that goes through the arm, and make sure that the belt does not have a twist in it. And you can turn the 33 and the 45 switch and see that the arm moves up and down and the belt's in the correct place. Next, we're going to put the outer platter in place. It's great if you try to avoid touching the outside of the platter. It'll help that to avoid oxidation a little bit, so I usually grab it through these holes and lower that carefully onto the platter. Then you've got your mat, which goes on after that. In some cases, some of you may have the original platter and mat, which in that case you'll use the 45 adapter also. Usually I've got 2 or 3 bread ties on the arm. This is a good time to release those. You want to make sure that your stylus guard is down on your cartridge if you have a stylus guard on your cartridge. This particular table has a brand new AT440 MLA by Audio-Technica, one of my favorite cartridges. So this is released. This is called the armrest. This is called the finger lift. So this is now released. The counterweight goes on the back of the arm, and this is true in the 166 Mark II and the 165. It goes on just as so. And because we're going to be using the Shure tracking force gauge, we do not have to pay specific attention to these numbers back here when we go to set it up. This is your anti-skate weight. There is a heavier weight that sometimes can be attached to this if you're using a cartridge that has a higher tracking force. This AT440 MLA has a tracking force of 1.5, so it's sufficient to use just a smaller weight here. the larger weight slips over this and goes over that part. So the anti-skate weight there's a small loop in it, goes over this first rod, and in the manual that I've included with you is a small scale graph which shows where the weight should be to equal 1.5 grams. In general, anti-skate is always going to equal what your tracking force is. There are some cases where that might fluctuate a little bit, but basically it's going to be where that is. So I've just got that hanging in place now. It'll be set to the correct weight after, again, according to the manual. So at this point you've got your belt in place, your platter in place, the counterweight's on, the anti-skate weight is on, and we're going to use the Shure tracking force gauge. The gauge is basically what I call a seesaw. It's got, you'd have to be sure that this is resting in the holes there for the seesaw, so it is moving freely. And there are numbers along here. We're going to move that to approximately 1.4 grams. The directions for the Shure tracking force gauge are in the box, but this is just my quick version of that. The notched end goes in the spindle. All the other geometry has already been done on the arm. Basically what you're doing is setting the tracking force weight and putting the anti-skate on, and then you are ready to go. So we've got 1.4 grams here, and this is just a trial and error kind of thing. Very carefully lift your stylus guard, and I can see already that this is not heavy enough, so I'm putting it back in the armrest, and I'm turning the counterweight so it moves in towards me, which will make it heavier. You want to make sure this is your cueing lever. You want to make sure the cueing lever is down. Mine is down in this particular case. There's a little triangle touching the surface, and this one is above the surface. So that's cueing up. This is cueing down. And we're still too light, so I gave that another twist back there. And we're getting closer. Just giving it a full twist each time. Closer. Okay, just a tiny bit too heavy. So I'm going backwards with the counterweight this time. A little too much. Okay, just trying to balance that seesaw. There's a little mirror in the back which makes that even easier. Very close. There we go. Okay, so we've balanced that at 1.4 grams. Again, you're going to use your manual to set this anti-skate also at 1.4 grams. There's notches in each of these rods, and you follow the directions in the manual as to which of those notches get placed in which particular spot. You might put your stylus guard back down at this particular point. Your connections for your turntable, obviously your AC cord. It's the old style. It does not have one prong bigger than the other. It can go in either direction. Occasionally you might have a turntable that has some hum, and the first thing I would try is just reversing that plug in the outlet. Sometimes that stops it. And here are your RCA cables. These have been replaced with much higher quality RCAs than what Thorens has. I do want to mention that these are not meant to be pulled on by the cable. Please, when you remove and put them on, use the casing of the RCA. Don't pull at the cable. It's possible that could loosen the solder joint in there, so you always want to put the plug in that way. And that's about it. If this table were on a spot where it could be played, it could be played at this particular point. It's ready to go. Thanks, and I hope this was helpful.